My mother is not a villain. I want to say that first, before everything else, because this story is going to sound like she is. And she isn't. She's a woman who loves her child, in the specific way that some people love, completely and without enough self-awareness to notice when the love becomes a wall. She found astrology in her late 20s, not casually, the way some people find a belief system, and it reorganizes them completely from the inside out. Birth charts, planetary alignments, readings she took seriously, the way other people take medical advice seriously. I don't say that to mock her. It was her truth. It shaped everything. When I was 4 years old, she had my chart read by someone she trusted. A full reading, the kind that maps tendencies and warnings, and areas of what they call adversarial energy. The reading said vehicles were mine, that I and moving vehicles, specifically as the one in control, were a combination to be avoided. My mother came home, and that was that. The rule existed from that point forward, with the permanence of a structural wall. You don't question structural walls. You just build around them. What the rule looked like. Age 7. Jamie from 3 doors down got a bicycle for his birthday. Red with silver handlebars. He rode it down our street the same afternoon. Wobbling, then finding it. The specific joy of a kid discovering balance for the first time. I watched from our front garden. I remember thinking, I'll get one soon. My birthday was in 6 weeks. I did not get one. I got a telescope, which was actually a good gift. But it wasn't a bicycle. And I knew why. Age 9. School summer fair. They had a cycling track in the field. Helmets, little cones to weave between. My friends did it 3 times each. I stood at the side. My teacher asked if I wanted to go. I said no thank you. The way you say no thank you, when you've been saying it long enough, that it doesn't even sting anymore. It just comes out. Automatic. Like a reflex you developed, instead of a skill. Age 13. The street where we lived got a new family. They had a son my age. Connor. He had a mountain bike. We became friends quickly. The way you do at that age, around proximity and boredom. The friendship lasted about 4 months, until he noticed that every time he suggested riding bikes, I had a reason not to. He didn't ask why. Kids don't always ask why. They just recalibrate. Find the friends who fit the activities. He found them. I watched that friendship drift down the street on 2 wheels. Without me. Age 17. Everyone was getting driving lessons. It was the social currency of the year. Comparing instructors. Horror stories. The particular pride of passing first time. I sat in those conversations. The way you sit in a room where everyone is speaking a language you were never allowed to learn. Nodding, laughing at the right moments, contributing nothing. One evening my dad, who went along with the rule, the way my dad went along with most things, said casually over dinner, "You know, you could probably get your license in a year or 2. When you're ready." My mother looked at him. He looked at his plate. The subject changed. I never brought it up again. Neither did he. What the rule cost me, and I've spent a lot of time with this accounting, wasn't the bicycle, or the driving license, or any specific thing. It was the compound interest of all of it. The way each missed thing added to a running total. that expressed itself not as anger, but as a smallness, a specific kind of smallness, the kind that comes from being consistently on the outside of something everyone around you does without thinking. I became quieter, not because I was naturally quiet, because quiet was easier than explaining, easier than the look people gave you when you said you couldn't drive. At 17, at 20, at 23, the look that isn't cruel, just confused, and then quickly, politely moved past, which is almost worse than cruelty, because cruelty at least acknowledges you. The polite move past just files you under complicated, under don't ask again. I became the family's quiet one, the one who sat at gatherings and didn't join in, the one who took cabs everywhere, who needed picking up, who couldn't just jump in the car, who was in ways that nobody stated directly, but everyone understood, a little bit less than everyone else. And the family, my family, who loved me, who meant well, made it a bit, not cruelly, not deliberately, just it was there. The easy joke, the affectionate ribbing that had an edge to it. They couldn't quite feel, because they weren't the ones being ribbed. My uncle at Christmas. How'd you get here? Did someone carry you? Laughter. My mum laughing too. My cousin at a birthday. We should get you one of those toddler balance bikes. Work your way up. More laughter. My mum's expression not stopping it. Just a mild smile. The smile of someone who has compartmentalized, who has put the rule in one box and the laughing in another, and not noticed. They are boxes in the same room. I was 19 when I decided. Not in a dramatic moment. There was no single catalyst. Just a Tuesday afternoon. Walking home from the bus stop. Watching a delivery driver on a bicycle weave through traffic, like the world was designed for them. And thinking, the world wasn't designed for me. And my mother's astrologer didn't design the world. And I was 19 years old. And the planet was not going to wait for me to feel ready. I looked up a cycling beginner's guide that evening. Bought a second-hand bicycle 3 days later. From a listing online. Paid cash. Kept it at a storage unit near my college. Told nobody. Not a single person. Not out of secrecy for its own sake, but because I was not doing this for an audience. I was doing it for the Tuesday afternoon, for the delivery driver, for every bicycle I watched go down every street, while I stood on the pavement, saying no thank you. I learned to ride it in the car park of the storage facility. On a Sunday morning, early, before anyone was around. It took 3 sessions. The first session I fell twice and felt nothing about it. By the third, I was cycling the length of the car park, without touching the brakes, and something happened in my chest that I'm not going to try to describe, because I don't think language quite has it. I kept going. A year later, a second-hand motorcycle, different storage unit, took a private lesson through a classified ad. An instructor who asked no questions and had the particular patience of someone who has taught adults who are ashamed and knows not to make it worse. A year after that, driving. A friend of a friend. Not a driving school. A quiet industrial estate on Sunday mornings. 6 sessions. Then more. Until I was good. Not just adequate. Good. The kind of good that comes from practicing something. In the specific silence of nobody watching. I did not tell my mother. I did not tell anyone. Not because I wanted to build toward a moment. I didn't plan a moment. I just continued to honor her rule publicly. Got in cabs, asked for lifts, said no thank you at cycling tracks, because she was still my mother. And her fear, however it had arrived, however unfairly it had been placed on me, was real. And I was still, underneath everything, the person who loved her and didn't want to be the reason she spent a night terrified. So I kept the secret. I kept it for 4 years, until last Saturday, when she made it impossible to keep. My cousin Ryan got a new car. He'd been talking about it for months. A proper car, the kind you save for. He was proud of it in the uncomplicated way that people are proud of things they worked for, and I was glad for him. Genuinely. The barbecue was at my aunt's house. Our family plus neighbors plus a handful of family friends. 35 people. The usual architecture of a family gathering. Clusters shifting, food appearing. The particular volume of people who all know each other well enough to be loud without effort. I was fine. For the first hour, I was genuinely fine. Talked to my gran, helped carry things, ate something, the normal rhythms. Then Ryan arrived with the car, and the gathering reorganized itself around it. The way gatherings do, when something new and shiny appears. People went to look, to touch, to admire, and then someone, I don't remember who, it doesn't matter who, suggested taking turns, just up the road and back. Nothing dramatic, just let's all have a go. And the turns began. My uncle first, then my dad, then 2 of Ryan's friends, then my brother, then my aunt. Laughing, each return greeted with commentary. How they handled the roundabout, the sound of the engine, the way it cornered, the specific joy of a group of people, bonding over a shared simple thing. And I stood at the edge of it, the way I had always stood at the edge of it. I knew what was coming. I always knew what was coming. The moment my name entered the rotation. The pause. The look. My cousin Ryan, genuinely well-meaning, genuinely not knowing, held the keys out toward me. Your turn. I said, it's all right, I'll skip. Just that. Calm. Light. Practiced. And the gathering shifted. In a specific way I recognized. The way a room shifts. When something it finds interesting has just presented itself. My uncle was first. Jovial. The kind of jovial that has never once examined itself. Oh, come on, it's just up the road. What are you scared of? I said nothing, just not feeling it. He laughed. In the way that means, I don't accept that answer. My aunt, the comparing one, reliably, mentioned my cousin Marcus, who had learned to drive at 17, who had driven the whole family to the hospital once, when there was an emergency, who was, in her telling, practically a hero of the road. She didn't say, unlike you. She didn't need to. The structure of the comparison said it. I was the negative space. Ryan's friend, who didn't know me well enough to know better, offered to sit in with me. I can talk you through it. It's easier than it looks. Then, even my little sister picked it up in like an afternoon. Even my little sister. The even landing exactly where it always lands. My brother said nothing. He just watched, which was its own participation. The not intervening, the allowing, the passive membership. of an audience that doesn't heckle, but doesn't leave either. My dad looked at his drink. My mother smiled at something someone else said, and the conversation continued around me, the way water continues around a stone. I said no a second time, a third, each time quieter, each time received as further evidence of whatever they had already decided I was. The comments continued, not in a pylon, in the way that's worse, dripping, one at a time, from different directions, each one individually dismissible, together a drowning. And then my mother leaned toward my aunt, the aunt she tells things to, the one she processes with. They were standing 8 feet from where I was. The gathering noise around us, enough to make her feel private. Not enough. I heard her say, "I honestly don't know what went wrong with him. He's always been like this. I don't know where I went wrong. I don't know where I went wrong." From the woman who made the rule, standing 8 feet away, at the gathering where her rule was the reason. Her son was standing at the edge. Again, as always, having never been allowed to be anywhere else, and finding it strange that he'd learned to live there. I stood very still, the kind of still that isn't calm, the kind that is the last moment, before something changes permanently. I looked at the driveway. I looked at Ryan. I looked at the keys in his hand. And I said, "Actually, give me the keys." I didn't make a speech first. I didn't explain myself. I took the keys, got in, adjusted the seat, the mirrors, both of them, the way you check mirrors when you actually know what you're checking them for. Started the engine. I heard the gathering go quiet, the way a room goes quiet when something unexpected is happening. I pulled out of the driveway. Smooth. First time. Up the road. The roundabout at the top. Cleanly. Back down. Into the driveway. Parked. First attempt. Got out. Handed Ryan his keys. The driveway was completely silent. My uncle was looking at me with an expression I had never seen on his face before. My aunt had stopped mid-sentence. Ryan was looking at his keys. My mother was very still. I stood in the driveway, and I spoke, not loudly, not in anger, in the voice of someone who has been holding something for a very long time and has simply decided to put it down. Here, now, in this driveway, in front of these people. I said, "I learned to ride a bicycle 4 years ago. I learned to ride a motorcycle 3 years ago. I learned to drive 2 years ago. I did all of it alone, at a storage unit, on Sunday mornings, without telling any of you. Not because I wanted to hide it, because I was still trying to respect a rule that was placed on me before I was old enough to have a say in it. While I was respecting that rule, while I was getting in cabs and asking for lifts, and saying no thank you at every gathering, for 23 years, this family made me the punchline. Casually, consistently, at Christmas, at birthdays, at barbecues, in passing, the way you make someone the punchline. When you've done it so many times, it doesn't even feel like a choice anymore. It's just the bit. And I laughed along, because laughing was easier than this. I watched friends drift away because I couldn't keep up. I sat in conversations for years that I had nothing to contribute to. I became quiet, Not because I'm quiet, because quiet was the only space I was given. I looked at my mother, who was looking at me, the way someone looks when the ground has moved under them, and they haven't caught up yet. I said, "I heard you, loud and clear. I heard what you said to Aunt Carol, and I need you to understand something. You made the rule. You built what I couldn't do, out of something you believed, and I respected. For 23 years I respected it, while you stood in rooms like this one and wondered out loud, what went wrong with your upbringing? I'll tell you what went wrong. You decided what I was allowed to be before I could speak, and then you were confused by what I became, and then you laughed at it. That's what went wrong. Not with me, with you, with the room." Nobody said anything. For a long time, the barbecue had stopped being a barbecue. Ryan was looking at the floor. My uncle had no expression at all. My mother, she had the look of someone receiving something they have earned and cannot dispute and do not know what to do with. I didn't wait for a response. There was nothing I needed from a response. I had said the thing that had been waiting, in driveway after driveway, in car park after car park, in every Sunday morning, at a storage facility where nobody was watching. I had said it. That was enough. About an hour later, after things had not resolved, nothing resolved, but settled into a new shape, the kind of shape a gathering takes after something has been said that can't be unsaid, people finding ways to be elsewhere, plates being cleared, voices at a lower register. My uncle found me at the side of the garden. He came quietly, without the joviality. He looked older than he had an hour ago. He said, "I didn't realize I didn't know you'd never been allowed. I thought it was just a thing you didn't like. I didn't mean." He trailed off. I let him. Then he said, "I could teach you, you know. The bicycle. If you ever wanted. No pressure. Just the offers there." I looked at him. He meant it. Completely. The offer was genuine. Coming from a real place. From a man who had just understood something and was trying in the only way he knew to do something about it. I said, "I know how to ride a bicycle, Uncle. I've known for 4 years. I know how to ride a motorcycle. I know how to drive a car. I've known for 2 years. I learned alone, because the world doesn't care what anyone's astrologer said, and I refuse to be helpless in it. But I want you to understand something. My prime, the years where you learn things easily, where the learning is just part of living, where you pick things up alongside everyone else, and it just happens, without effort, without shame, without Sunday mornings alone in a car park, hopping, nobody comes in. Those years were spent differently, by necessity, and I'm not going to learn them again. With an audience, I'm not going to let this family hand me the bicycle now and feel good about it. It's too late to feel good about it. What I have, what I built alone, is mine, the only thing that ever was, and I'm keeping it that way. The irony is it was never about the bicycle, about the bike, about the car." He nodded. Slowly. He didn't say anything else. There wasn't anything to say. We stood there for a moment. Not uncomfortably. Just two people at the end of something. Then he went back inside, and I called a cab. The cab driver asked if I'd had a good afternoon. I said eventful. He laughed. Didn't ask more. Good man. I watched the houses go past. The streets I'd walked for years. The routes I knew from pavements and bus windows. And the particular patience of someone who has never been in a hurry, because hurrying required wheels they didn't have. My phone had messages. I didn't open them. Not yet. There would be time for whatever came next, for whatever shape the family decided to take. On the other side of a Saturday afternoon, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about a Sunday morning. 4 years ago. A car park. Nobody watching. A second-hand bicycle. The specific feeling of balance. Arriving in the body. For the first time. How long I sat on the ground after. The first time I made it. The full length without stopping. Just sat there. On the tarmac. In the quiet. With something I had built. Entirely alone. The cab pulled onto the main road. I watched the streetlights start to come on. One at a time. The way they do. Without announcement. Just light. Where there wasn't any. Then there was. That's all. That's the whole thing.